This week, we're going to be discussing light temperature. We'll be talking about how it changes the colors we see in different environments and even how color temperature affects our mood. Here you can see how the sun changes colors throughout the day, and these shifts in temperature are what we refer to as kelvins or K. Kelvins are used throughout the art world. They're used a lot in photography and also in cinema. But Kelvin temperature also affects how we see color. For example, let's say you've created a logo or a piece of artwork and it's ready to be hung up. Well, this piece of artwork that you've created will look different under different lighting environments. For example, if your piece is hanging in an office space, and office space lighting is usually set to a temperature of around 5600, or that would be daylight balanced. Well, that's going to look totally different than if you put it, say, in a restaurant where you've got very dim, warm lighting. Well, that piece of artwork is going to look totally different than it would if it was in an office environment. As we showed in the beginning, how the sun changes in color temperature throughout the day. So if you're looking at an outdoor board or passing by a restaurant billboard, well, the color on that billboard is going to change depending on the day that you drive by it. So all of these factors change how we see the colors throughout our creations. That is why it's really, really important to know about color temperature and how it changes the colors that we see. So now let's take a look at the Kelvin temperature scale and let's talk about how it works. First, let's talk about Kelvin lighting and how it was invented. The term Kelvin light temperature refers to a measurement of color temperature used in lighting expressed in Kelvin or K. It describes the hue of light emitted by a source ranging from warm yellowish to a cool bluish color. The Kelvin scale is named after a gentleman named William Thomson. He was a 19th century physicist and he developed the thermodynamic temperature scale. So on the Kelvin temperature scale, you'll see it goes from a very orange, yellowish, warm color all the way to a very bright blue. And so there's a whole range of colors in between that. So as you'll see, starting off at 1000 K, well, that's going to be your temperature of a candle, or say a campfire, and you see the ambers in the bottom of that campfire. It's very orange, very warm. And so if you climb on up the scale, you'll get into 2000 K lighting. This lighting temperature, for example, will be, say if you go to Lowe's and you buy a Edison bulb, those are real popular now, you'll see how warm of a light that particular bulb gives off. So it climbs further on up. So at sunrise, the color temperature ranges around 3000 K. And as you go on up the scale, you'll see, like on a cloudy day, that temperature goes up to a 5000 K, which is more of a brighter neutral light. Then we go up to high noon light, and you can see that here. And this light at high noon will become its peak coolest light, and that's around 5600 to 6500 K. And you can see throughout the day how that temperature shifts and how you get into a sunset where it gets a lot warmer down to 2400 K. And this also starts changing outside on cloudy days. If it's really cloudy, or if it's raining, or if it's snowy, you're going to see that temperature just get cooler and more bluer as that occurs. And this range goes all the way up to 10,000 K. So with all that being said, I wanted to go into something that I think you guys are really going to like and find really interesting, and take a break from this technical jargon that I'm speaking here. So let me get over here to Premiere Pro. You guys may know this movie. It's 2019, The Joker. And I have to say, guys, wow, this movie and the color in this movie and the color temperatures in this movie that they have used are truly amazing, and it really blows my mind. And every time I see this film, I'm just totally mesmerized. But that's what color and color temperature does to us. It makes us feel emotions, and it pulls things out of us as we're watching it. And it's just a true power to be able to do that. So I wanted to start off and let's talk about color temperature that they've used in this movie. And you'll see in the happier scenes of the movie, because this movie has a lot of dark scenes and it's got some comedy in it, and it's got some romantic parts in it, and so they use color in many different ways to convey those emotions. And I'm just going to start here with this scene of Joaquin Phoenix. And what a wonderful job he did. I mean, wow, just a great actor. But you'll see this is kind of a lighter scene in the movie, a bit funnier. And you can see what they've done here to convey that is they've used some warmer colors. They've tried to keep it a little more positive feeling. You can see it on this little guy's face here, just how warm and cozy he looks. And as you go through this scene, you can see on Joaquin's hair how they're bringing this real orange light from the sun and popping it on his hair, and it just gives everything this real positive vibe. In this scene, it may not be quite as happy, but it's more of just a general scene of a discussion happening where you don't really want it to feel dark or you don't want it to feel too happy. You just want it to be just kind of neutral. And you can see how they've used this light temperature, and it's kind of just a nice warm light. It's not super warm, not super cold, and it just gives off a good general feeling of having this discussion between the Joker and these gentlemen. So I want to show you guys how in this scene it shows going back to a warmer color, but it's not super warm. But as you can see here, he's wearing a tux, so it's more of a formal environment. So this kind of a goldish look to the clips really just kind of helps bring in the feeling of just being more in a classy environment, to kind of try to convey the situation that they're in. So even though he gets punched in the face. And then we go to cool temperature colors that they've used in this movie. And in this scene, you can see Joaquin, and this bluish color just gives everything more of this just cold feeling. And these blues really just bring out these moments of coolness, and it really makes you feel just a certain aura. And even in the greens, you can tell that color, and it just brings in this sense of a mystery, and it just is something very powerful in how they've used color lighting in this movie. Again, I talked about how color can express moods, and this scene from the movie is set in more of a romantic mood, and you can see how just warm and beautiful these colors are on her, and how they just make her glow, and this overall sense of warmth just makes you feel nice and cozy. And you can see how they use the warm yellows in the back of Joaquin's head to just help bring that feeling through. And this particular scene is where we start getting into the realm of mix lighting and how you can use it to develop contrast in a scene. And this scene, as he was going to her apartment, you can see how they've used this contrast lighting, or mixed lighting. How when she opens that door, I mean, she is so warm. And look at the difference in between this color and these cyans. What they've done here is they've color balanced their cameras so she would be warm. But what happens to that is when you have like fluorescent lights or something out here, they become very blue when you balance them to an orange or warm light temperature. and that's just well represented here. And the contrast that that creates is just really something else. And just look how beautiful that shot is. Look how beautiful those colors are, because what they've done here is they've used a, say, 2800K light to light her, and they balance to that. So when they use a cooler light out here, when you do that, this cool color becomes even cooler, and that's how you get this wonderful contrast in the scene. Staying into the realm of mixed color, these are just great examples of showing how color temperature works. And cinema is just one of those areas in the creative world that really, really depend on lighting, and they really experiment with differences in lighting temperatures. And in this scene, you have a incandescent light, which is going to give off a warmer light, and you can see these fluorescents up here. And this kind of goes back to what I was speaking to of her when he opens the door. So what you see is you have your fluorescence and you have your incandescence. So when you balance your camera to an incandescent light where it looks normal to you as you were looking at a regular light bulb, well, when it's balanced to this particular temperature of light, these fluorescents, as you know, is a cooler light. Well, they just become even more enhanced because you're balancing it to this warm light. So again, just creating that contrast and that orange and teal color grading that we all love so much, and just how beautiful it makes these scenes. And I'll just keep showing examples of how lighting temperature affects the mood and how we feel and how you perceive a scene. And you can see this. This is probably an artificial light, but they've brought this light in through the window, and they've set this scene up where this warm light is coming in this window, and you can see the total contrast of this fluorescent light and this cool light hitting. And wow, look at that gradient of light. Look at his shoulder and look at his back, and just the contrast that this creates. It's just really something else. This movie blows my mind when they did the color grading on it. All this is just a great way to explain color temperature, how color temperature works, how color temperature makes us feel. And again, this movie just really represents color temperature in just a really fabulous way. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I wanted to kind of step away from the numbers and the graphs and the charts, and really just give you guys some real world examples and how color temperature is used in the creative world in cinematography. And this also travels over to photography and how still photographers use color contrast and color balance to convey emotions in a portrait or an advertisement or things of that nature. So with all that being said, we'll move on to the next section. Opening up this lesson, we talked about how colors change depending on the temperature of light that's hitting them. So I want to go over this real fast, and this chart shows the type of lighting that you would want to use in each one of these environments. So for 2700K, which is a very warm light, you'll see this in living rooms and dining rooms, and then you'll also see this, like I showed earlier, in dining restaurants that want to give a feel of a more relaxing atmosphere. And so you'll see that a lot of times in restaurants. So then we move on up to 3000 Kelvin or 3000K. And this is a warm light, and it's usually inviting and calm. And this says offices down here, and I believe this color would work in kitchens, maybe some retail stores. And I guess if your office is the type of office that really wants some more of a relaxing atmosphere, they could use that. I've been into some marketing agencies where that lighting is used. Actually, in my office, I do not like fluorescent lighting whatsoever, so I'll usually use warmer lights. So then you go up to 3500 and 4000K, and these where you get into your neutral lights. You can see these in kitchens and bathrooms. The creative world would be really interested in is gallery lighting is usually around this range, probably more in 3800K to be more exact. And that's where your gallery lighting is going to fall into this category. So it's just not going to disturb the colors of your creations, of your artwork, your logos, once they are hung and presented and satisfied with what they're seeing. So then you go to even cooler lights. This would be 5000K, and 5000 to 5600K would be pure sunlight temperature. And a lot of industrial and commercial manufacturers will use this temperature of lighting in their factories. And you'll see that, for an example, in a car factory. And it's extremely bright, extremely clean looking, and it works well for what they do for a living. Now, that being said, I, as a studio artist, I have my studio set up with variable temperature lighting in the studio that I put in myself. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to change the temperature of my lights. If I know that I'm going to be painting one of my pieces that's going into a restaurant, I'll normally bring it to a warmer end of the Kelvin scale. In turn, if I know that my paintings are going to be in a gallery situation, this range over here, this is going to replicate natural lighting that you would get from daylight. And so what I'll do is I'll adjust for that, because if I paint under a warmer light and it's shown and a cooler light, it's really going to make the colors of my painting change and in ways that I don't want to. So I'll use my variable lights and set them to a temperature that I know that will work in those environments, and my colors will stay more consistent as what I saw when I was painting. So from there, we're going to get to this week's project. So this is this week's project. What you see before you is a 16 by 20 piece of art board that you can get from the art store. You can get it from Hobby Lobby. That's where I bought mine. I got the thick mill art board so it would be more sturdy. And what I want you guys to do this week is build this swatch board. And it's going to take a few days for you to do this project, so I would not wait if I were you. So this is our 16 by 20 art board. And I went to Lowe's, and that's where you guys can go to get these paint swatches. And what I want you guys to do is go and select paint swatches from the paint section. You'll see these swatches are about 2 by 5, and when you lay them out on this board, they pretty much just lay perfectly as they are. And so you'll glue those down on your artboard. So why are we doing this? Well, what we're going to do is, again, see how light changes color. So when you're picking out your swatches, what I want you guys to do is, as you see here, get a wide variety of colors, get really dark colors, get really bright, vibrant colors, and neutral colors. And I even put white in mine so you can see the color temperature better. So what we're going to do with this is I want you guys to take these once you've got them built, and you're going to go around your home or outside at different times of the day. You're going to shoot pictures of these. You'll shoot pictures of these in a dark hallway with a window light or with a warm lamp. And you can take those pictures on your phone, or if you want to take them on your digital camera, you can do that also. So I took a few samples of my artboard and I moved it around and put it in different lighting conditions and lighting temperatures. And so I shot this one here outside. This would be around noon, and you can see how bright these vibrant colors are popping out. And so then I went and took another photo, and this was just in a shadow type spot in my bedroom, and you can see it's a bit darker. And when you compare those differences, you can see, especially in the reds and in the yellows. This particular swatch I made under my lamps at home, and which are very yellow and very warm. So you can see that coming through here. And I'm going to go back and reference this one that I did in more of a shadow in the house. And you can see a huge difference in these two. And you can see it really changed the color of that blue right there. I'm just looking around at some of the ones that I see that are just drastically changing. And these pinks up here too. Then I took my swatch board and I went to my girls' room and I shot it in front of a window, but my daughter has pink curtains up, and this picture was shot and the light that's coming in is colored. So you can see that cast that's over this swatch board. You can really start seeing that in the white when you have our bright white here. So that's the point of this. So I want you guys to take 9 to 12 photos after you build your swatch boards. Go outside during the day, go outside in the evenings, in the sunset. Take these photos under warm lights. You can take them to a coffee shop or restaurant. Just do a variety of different locations and different lighting temperatures. So after you take your pictures, you're going to crop these down and you're going to make it nice and clean like I have. And I want you to take your photos after they've been cropped down and place them on a page. We're going to make this a 11 by 17 page, and I would highly suggest doing this in Photoshop to crop your photos, or if you want to use Lightroom to crop your photos. And what I want you to do is arrange them on the artboard like so, and I want you to put the time and the place that you took it under each swatch board. Make sure your alignments are correct. Make sure your margins look good. And this is what you'll wind up with, guys. So that's it for this one. So have fun with it, guys.